Hi, I'm Emily Felix, and my behavior change project was on the effects of differential reinforcement of alternate behaviors with extinction and reducing tantrum behavior during transitions. Um, my participant was a 3.5-year-old girl diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. A psychologist diagnosed her at age 3. She lives at home with her mother and father and younger sister. She does not have any other comorbid diagnoses, and she currently does not attend school. She has been receiving ABA therapy for 2 months in a clinic setting. Her ABA sessions are 4 hours, 3 days a week, and she receives one-on-one therapy. She has expressive and receptive language skills and speaks in full sentences. She is able to follow 3-step instructions and does not have any physical limitations. Her parents sought out ABA therapy and report she engages in tantrum behavior during transitions in the home and out in the community at least 4 times a day. In the clinic, Jane engages in tantrum behavior whenever the demand to transition is placed. The intervention was conducted in the ABA clinic during the client sessions, 3 days a week, each session lasting 4 hours. And during all activities, gross motor, discrete trial instruction, circle time, art, reading time, and free time. My behavioral definition for tantrum behavior was defined as crying with or without tears, yelling to exclude games where cheering and yelling is appropriate, whining, 2 or more refusal statements such as I don't like that or I don't want to do that, to exclude refusal statements when asking if she wants to eat a certain snack, and flopping to the floor. My measurement and IOA data, tantrum behavior was measured using duration. A timer was set at the onset of the target behavior and stopped 3 seconds after the target behavior ceased. My therapist and I were both trained on the data collection system being used and the definition of target behavior. Reliability was calculated for the agreement of the number of tantrums engaged in during a 1-hour period, 1 day a week. Inter-observer agreement was calculated by dividing the shorter duration time of the 2 divided by the longer duration time and multiplying by 100. During baseline and intervention, IOA data remained at 100%. Weekly feedback was given to me by my supervisor. After IOA data was taken, the supervisor also collected treatment fidelity data using a treatment fidelity checklist on the intervention implementation, and treatment fidelity was 100% during all intervention phases. I used a single subject reversal design, an AB-AB design. Baseline was taken for 5 days, then the intervention was implemented for 5 days. Then there was a return back to baseline for 5 days, and then the intervention was again implemented for another 5 days. Maintenance and generalization data will not be taken for this client because the father has been reassigned to a different military station in another state, and the client will be moving shortly after I completed the intervention. I also conducted a preference assessment for her. During the baseline phase of the intervention, I collected data every day during transitions if she engaged in the target behavior. And during baseline, when it's time to transition to another activity, I would say it's time to go to whatever activity it was. If she engaged in tantrum behavior, she was physically prompted to the next activity. During the intervention phase, when it was time to transition to a new activity, the therapist would say, okay, in 1 minute, we're going to go to, reading, say okay. If she said okay, then she was reinforced with an edible. If she did not respond, I would prompt her to sign okay and provide social praise for the prompted sign. When the timer would sound, I would present an edible and say, let's go. If she engaged in appropriate behavior, she was provided with specific behavior praise, such as, I like how you're walking with a quiet mouth. And she was provided with the edible reinforcer when we reached the destination. If she engaged in tantrum behavior, the demand was not removed and she was physically prompted to the next activity, and tantrum behavior was placed on extinction. So during the first baseline condition, Jane engaged in tantrum behavior for an average of 42.33 minutes per day. And during the first intervention phase, she engaged in tantrum behavior for an average of 13.49 minutes per day. So there we see tantrum behavior decreased an average of 28 minutes. So this shows a dramatic decrease in tantrum behavior. In the second baseline phase, she engaged in tantrum behavior 13.51 minutes per day. This data is not reflective of a baseline in the first phase, but did increase from the intervention phase. In the second intervention phase, Jane engaged in tantrum behavior an average of 4.11 minutes per day. And then again, there's a decrease, this being 9.4 minutes from the second baseline phase to the second intervention phase. The last 2 sessions of the second intervention phase, she didn't engage in any tantrum behavior at all. So the results suggest that using differential reinforcement of alternate behaviors in conjunction with extinction is effective in reducing tantrum behavior during transitions. I hope you guys found my behavior project interesting, and I really look forward to seeing the rest of you guys' projects.